Christopher Sundgren is playing a come around here. Looks like he's just going for the top 4. Standard start after the centerline guard from Mike McEwen's Denny Neufeld.
A little bit of a mistake there with that rock going deep into the house. Creates a little bit of an opportunity for Team McEwen right off the bat here.
Looks like we've got a bit of a lineup change right here with the Adine rate with Nicholas sweeping.
Looking for back 8. You got room.
Yeah. The interesting thing there, Jock, is that some of these teams that are either preparing for the Canadian curling trials or for the Olympics are trying a number of different things here this weekend, and Team Adine has been playing with this lineup here this week. What they're doing is they're rehearsing the chance of an occurrence of something happening at the Olympics where Nick is unable to skip or unable to play, and therefore they really need to be prepared for every different kind of thing that may happen. So this is one of their test events where they're trying a little bit of a different lineup to make sure that they're still going to be okay, and I would say the experiment has worked out very positively in their case this weekend, with them at this point undefeated at 6 wins.
Early in the first end, we're seeing some play towards the back of the rings already. It's when that first rock went around and went deep, we're now playing some freezes around that centerline guard, trying to get control of that scoring zone. So we've seen nothing but outturns down that path.
So these are the shots that we have seen these teams play in the pregame practice. They each throw 8 shots up and 8 shots back, so they get a chance to test out the ice conditions, and this is the path that they're throwing on. So they're very familiar with the ice conditions here in the middle of the sheet. What ends up to be a little bit interesting is if the play gets pulled out to the sides early in the game. Sometimes the conditions are quite different, but they should have a pretty good handle on these shots right now.
So Matt Wozniak, second for Team McEwen, asked to come around, comes up a little bit light, and ends up plugging up the middle.
Mike mentioning a little observation about a rock that he thinks might curl a little more.
Kan ju bli att de drar efter, ligger T-lineman. I alla fall. Eller dubbla och försöka spinna upp till en corner nu. Ja, gör det. Ja. I den här så är det okej också.
So it looks like we're going to see our first on the intern side coming around. It looks like a corner freeze is the call. With
Team Adine trying to get a rock in position to make a move on it later. Right now, their access to the scoring area is pretty limited with that McEwen shot there, but
that second Rasmus Rana throwing the intern there.
This shot looks great.
Good line on that one.
Okay.
Lovely shot, 2 right in there in the scoring area, but with Team McEwen having those 2 red rocks tight to the house, they've got a couple different options there to get out of trouble here with a few shots to come. So he's not too worried yet.
It looks like we're going to see a little heat with this one.
Yeah, stand back.
Not too bad, playing the run back.
Yep.
Running his own red guard into the 2 blue is the call.
Whoa! Whoa!
So that was just a little bit of an under curl. He got one of them and left a little hole there, but that's consistent with what we've seen in the errors this weekend. If anything, with weight, that ice is holding a little straight, and a lot of waiting for curls, so there's been a number of under curls on those run-throughs.
slå, men alternativet är väl att dra här, men då får han ju skjuta igen.
I'm not sure how your Swedish is, Elaine, but it looks like he's calling for another freeze wrap around there.
Då drar den vägen i så fall.
And the hand signals are helping us too.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Eller gillar ni den? Kör hit. Slår han bara den här så öppnar han upp den i alla fall. Kan ha lite avstånd. Här någonstans. Topp 8.
So he's trying to get this next blue rock in a position that'll make that run back a little bit more difficult. There's a few different options and room for a little bit of tolerance on this shot, depending on how the angles end up.
Håll igång. Japp. Japp, lite tight. Japp. Whoa. Japp.
Line looks pretty tight on this one. Weight looks awesome.
Whoa.
Just going to paper by that guard. What a great shot.
There's some great sweeping, and we don't get an opportunity to watch Nick Hedin sweep too many rocks.
No, this is a rare occurrence.
Be nice to make this one. Game, yeah. Thought we were playing that so early. Okay, go for it, boys. It's firm.
And again, it looks like Mike McEwen asking BJ Neufeld to play that run back. It's
So he's
hard.
taking a little less ice this time.
It's hard to tell how much ice he's taking when you can't tell which turn he's doing. Puts it right in the middle of the rock. Asks for a little heat.
Maybe either one will do.
Hard!
So again, a little bit of a tendency with what we've seen all weekend here, that a line will look really good all the way down till almost the end of the shot, near the final few feet of the shot, and then it'll take a little bit of a jump, and that's the characteristics of the ice here, is that at the very last moment you need to anticipate that and sweep through that curl, or lose the shot at the very end. So that one just over curling slightly.
Blir det tjapp så är det jättetunn dubbel för dem.
Oscar Eriksson looks like he's looking at either just a straight back hit on that red one or a little maybe a roll inside.
Tror du? Ja, den kan han ju gå för.
Wants to be
Jag tror han
careful
kanske
not
går
to
för
jam it on
vicken
that back
ändå.
blue
Försöker
one.
floppa in. Prova vicka in där. Har ju lite stöd mot egen också så.
Looks like there's just enough room if he makes this perfectly to roll right on top of his own blue one and be perfectly protected, and also take away the double if he can get that inside roll.
Whoa! Whoa! Yep! Härligt!
Very nice.
Beautiful roll, but you know what's coming from Mike McEwen already.
Same shot. Try and nut it.
Mike's asking for that again.
Same way. Firm.
Straight back run. See if he can kill two blue ones.
The thing about having an opportunity to throw a number of runbacks in a row is eventually you're going to connect with one of them just perfect.
Whoa. Yep. Whoa. 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 Hard. Okay.
Very fortunate to get the one rock, but he's left himself
Har ju dubben och vick åt
an
båda hållen.
unenvious position if Eriksson's team
Slår vi
can
här
get
så får han
a
nästan
good guard up.
stöd hitåt också. Lite gutsy att garda, men split.
So Sweden sitting twos with hammer and shooting.
Han kan göra det, men det är det eller så går vi för något sånt här. Men det kan ju bli en frysten för han också.
Are they looking at a split here, Elaine?
Så slår vi den där.
Looks like they
Yeah,
might.
I think a split.
Now they're just talking about a hit and roll.
Kanske är garden. När det var full fyra, det kommer ju ligga här. Ja. Eller om man får en dubbel på de bakre kanske han väljer det. Eller är det bättre att komma hit?
So it looks like a little bit of a split call here. Very sensitive weight call on this with the being so much curl. And that port, as large as it does look, he's calling for a backline weight. It's just enough weight to move both rocks behind those corner guards.
And this is a great call. It's not an easy call. But Mike has all sorts of options with those two short guards there. Roll either way, run throughs. You know, lots of different choices here. So Team Sweden is trying to split those two to spread those rocks out a little bit more and make it a little bit more difficult for Mike to get into a position to get them into trouble.
Yes, has been running really quick all weekend long at about 14.5. And in practice, it was down to about 13.5. For, you know, club curling, 13.5 is a really great time. But in this level of competition, it means the ice is a little bit stiff to start for practice, so it makes it a little more challenging.
This rock is really taking off.
Absolutely taking off. Does he have a piece of it? He's just got enough maybe to hold it on. So he is lying. Eriksson is lying 3. But he's left an opening for Mike McEwen to draw in. He's looking at the run back.
Just half, maybe. There. Look at it. Well, yeah, I know.
So Mike's surveying what he's got and whether he just tries the pick double.
I have enough. I think that's probably the shot I should play. Just we've seen what hits in this path. We have a better idea. There'll be a bit of movement with the end. Thinking like a firm normal. Let's throw firm. Let's throw firm weight. Thinking there.
I think it's the right ice.
So it's great when we get to listen in on the plan of not only what shot they're going to play, but also how they're going to play it.
I was thinking firm. No, I'm making the double. Trying to hit as much as I can. I think it'll tweak here a bit. And I think that ice is good.
Looks like Mike's trying the intern hit for 2 or light. Sorry, intern double.
Like
Weight's not overthrown. And I mean, the key is how close he gets to that guard to see where if he can.
Whoa!
And make the not quite the double. He was very fortunate there.
There's a lot of skill in a player going down and not touching that rock, isn't there, Chuck?
There is a lot of skill in that. When you're going at that speed on a hit, trying to stop yourself from running right into the rocks. But very fortunate there. He didn't catch quite as much rock as he wanted to, but he did push that second blue rock in behind his own red. So right now, Nicholas Edin is lying 1, but they've got a couple guards to work with.
So
now it's just a matter of picking which guard he wants to come around behind to try and score his 2 points.
Matt Wozniak went down pretty hard on that shot. He's rubbing his knee quite a bit. We're keeping an eye on the sheet next door, and we're looking for someone to give us a little bit of an update. It looks like there are about 12 rocks in play. With, I think I'm getting a message, something like 10 of them are in the forefoot, so that's a pretty interesting situation developing over in the other semifinal with Cooey versus De Cruz. And we will keep you updated on what's happening over there. But there's going to be no blank end, that's for sure.
Yeah, I see only one rock out of play, and we're into skip stones. So
De Cruz has hammer over there in the other game. And, yeah, there's 10 rocks in the 8-foot. We don't see that very often in the first end of play.
With these shorter 8-end games and having a little bit of practice beforehand, it's nice to see these guys going right at it in the first end. You can see this coming down. It's got a lot of curling to do. And there's the late break. As expected, it's been like that all week, a late break, and they're going to try and finish that rock with the sweeper trying to guide it around behind that corner guard.
So I think they wanted to get that tucked a little bit more behind that guard to make this shot for Mike a little bit more difficult. There's a couple different options there of what he can do. He's talking about maybe the double. But there's also a hit and roll available.
It's gonna run for a while though. I think I like that ice. Yeah, bump.
I think we're seeing early in the game that we're not getting quite as much curl as we have been in the other games. Maybe with just 2 sheets out there playing. Also early in the morning, it does make a difference with the air temperature out there in the building. But we're not getting quite as much curl. I expect it'll probably start a little more curl very soon. But still lots to play with.
Just an inch, just a touch less. I think you could really hold this if you wanted to. Close, clean. 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 Whoa. Yep. Hard!
There it goes, and it's taken off.
Hard! Whoa! Whoa!
What a beauty.
What a terrific shot.
Now that's an example of a shot very well managed from beginning to end. Mike had a really good idea of the kind of weight he wanted to throw. His team members confirmed it as soon as it was out of his hand. And it was just a perfect decision-making process all the way down. They let it get really tight to that guard, which had to happen in order to catch that double as it went by. It was a great shot. Great team shot.
So Dean's team, skipped today by Oscar Eriksson, has the hammer, has last rock advantage. And they're making a play here to get their
Force to 1 here.
Force 1. Playing a real quiet weight, just wants to make sure he removes that rock from play and sticks around with his shooter. That rock's got a little bit of curling to do. Very predictable ice. Look at that break. And a lovely shot.
And there you go. First on the scoreboard for Team Edin. Today skipped by Oscar. And that's a good start.
Over on sheet B in the other semifinal, where we've got Kevin Cooey playing Peter Cruz's rink, there is a lot of rocks in play, and it was interesting to note that that team probably started about 5 minutes before this televised game, And there is a mess of rocks over there, Elaine.
There you can have a
really good look at that.
There it looks like De Cruz is sitting 1 with hammer.
Fight 4.
And there's a lot of stuff going on that sheet.
A lot of discussion on play right now. You can see all four members of Kevin Koe's rink involved in the strategy on that sheet right now.
This will be Team Koe's last rock here, so they're looking at how to maybe get shot rock and definitely how to prevent De Cruz from removing too many of these red rocks. So 2 rocks to come there on that complicated end on the semifinal on the next sheet.
Ja, full 8. Kom igen. Bra linje. Kom igen. Länge. Järnet.
So it looks like he's trying to play. Kevin Koe's lining up a bit of an in-off there, running his own rock into his own red rock into the blue and rolling over on top of the other blue. Mark Kennedy over there holding the broom for him.
Kind of right in the middle of the logo.
So we'll stay and watch this rest of this end unfold because it's a pretty interesting one. And we'll keep you updated with what's happening on our feature semifinal.
Yep.
In the second end has just begun, and we'll come back to that in a moment.
Okay.
Koe just throwing that shot right now.
Call immediately is off on that one. Now we're going to give it a curl. Oh, and he's moved a lot of rocks around. And it looks like he's left himself lying one quite buried on the side over there, one red on the side.
Yep.
But I see some opportunities for De Cruz. Peter De Cruz is the skip on that team, but he does throw second rocks with Benoit Schwartz actually throwing last rocks.
Just move it in the open.
Kevin's not too pleased about how everything finished up after that throw.
Just draw weight.
Interesting that both of our semifinals here involve one team that is clearly through to the Olympics in February, and that's Team De Cruz and Team Adine. And the other 2 semifinalists, Team Koe and Team McEwen, have the Olympic trials ahead of them in just a few weeks.
Yep.
So 2 teams with 2 very different situations right now.
Hard!
We're hearing
hard! Keep going!
What you're hearing on the broadcast right now is the other semifinal, our main semifinal that we're broadcasting. Currently, there's a center line guard and a corner guard.
We chip the blue center, like it's still a good shot. Throw.
11 kanske. Eller 10. 10. Räcker vicken. Dessi dit så är det bra. Eller ja, helst lite till, men... Okej. 10.
So it looks like Ericsson's calling a run through the port without turn hit. Fairly firm weight. Try and get himself lying 2 with those 2 guards out in play.
Oh, cornern. Ja, den är halv. Oh.
It's not curling up as much as expected. And they've removed that corner guard.
So that's one of those weight shots where if it's even just the slightest bit overthrown, it's going to hang a little bit longer. You can't sweep it. You're waiting for it to curl. It's just not a great position to be in. So it did tick the outside guard.
Bump's good. Even bump her down a little.
In the last end, Nicholas Adine's team was forced to take 1, so we have McEwen having the hammer. He's playing around that center guard, trying to remove the Adine stone.
Hard! Gotta go! Hard! 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 Keep going, keep going, keep going.
What a great shot.
Okay.
There's the difference between a weight perfectly thrown on a little tap,
Fine. Very good.
just enough to allow sweeping.
Minimum ISO, I think.
7. Försöka chappa bara. Lite utsida, gör dubben ändå. Kan spela mjukare om du gillar det.
So they're looking to see if they, Oscar Eriksson, who is skipping a Dean's team today, if they can make that double. That's second, Rasmus Rana, 27-year-old.
Wow, aldrig. Avrull. Okej, det är bra. Bra fart.
Nice shot. So we'll just update you over on the other semifinal with all the rocks that were in play. De Cruz tried a double for potentially 3, ended up getting 2 points in the first end. That's a pretty big score to, in an 8-end game, to score 2 in the first end. It puts them in a pretty good position to defend. So we'll keep an eye on that, what's happening on that other semifinal over there.
Back on our sheet, Mike McEwen made a great shot to force Oscar Peterson to make a hit and stick for his single point. So McEwen's carrying the hammer, down 1-0 going into the second end. Trying to wrap around this center line guard. Looks like the sweepers just got it by.
Trying to get the back edge rub. Just here. Okay. Wow, that jumped.
Yeah, with all that late curl, if the guard is this far out, they need to stay in the front of the house, otherwise that rock's going to be totally accessible. It is still accessible now, but at least there's a little bit of a decision about what kind of weight that has to be thrown in order to just get around that guard and tap that rock out.
That guard's fairly long, so there's lots of room for curling afterwards, so I don't think in the grand scheme of things, that guard is a super effective one.
Ligger bra, ligger bra, ligger bra, ligger bra, ligger bra. Härligt.
Yeah, it's a pretty open end here, so there's still definitely a good potential for a blank if Mike ends up feeling like he's moving towards being forced. He can bail out of this pretty easily with just one rock in play.
For those of you who just tuned in, that was Nicholas Edin throwing third stones as they've shuffled the lineup a little bit with Oscar Eriksson skipping.
Okay. Line's better. That's all you need. Just nibble 8. Line's better. Got some room. A little deeper. Danny, stay with this. Danny.
So you can see how far they're getting by that guard to try and get it fully buried.
Gotta go, gotta go. Gotta go, keep going, keep going.
Oh, shoot. Good weight.
Klart det är nice att stanna där, men det känns som där är bra också. Samma fart.
Nicholas Edin throwing, you can see about half of that rock. Looks like he's just going to throw a controlled down weight hit on this one and try to roll behind the other corner guard.
Whoa. Whoa, whoa. Bra där.
Oh, beautiful. And he sticks it.
It's pretty hard to hide a rock behind that long guard, but I think Mike's plan was to maybe get another rock out front there, acting as a bit of a guard there.
The roll away.
So he does have a choice as to whether he wants to go around that whole scenario there, but looks like he's chosen to hit and roll. There is a corner guard way out by the edge of play there. A little bit more of a conservative play, which is going to leave the blank alive.
That's 36-year-old Denny Neufeld throwing. Sorry, BJ Neufeld throwing. 31-year-old BJ Neufeld throwing right now.
No.
No,
And it looks like he's got the hit, but he's going to be rolling right behind that guard. Is it going to go out?
Okay.
And it sticks around.
Wow. There's a good illustration of what we mentioned in the first end about that outside part of the sheet being virtually unused up to this point. So there's a lot of frost and, not frost, but stickiness out there that there have been no rocks down there. So there's something for that red rock to grab onto and stay in play, which is a great situation for Mike McEwen. Perhaps later in the game that weight would have been a rollout kind of situation, but in this case he's right behind that guard in pretty good shape right now.
You're just gonna probably run straighter in mine, might be in between.
Ja.
So Edin has decided to ignore that shot and play a come around.
I guess this is one of those situations where a good offense is the best defense, where he's going to just try and line two to try and make sure that rock on the wings doesn't come into play.
Så 95 kanske?
Yeah, in order to force McEwen to take one here, Team Edin needs to be sitting two with no possible of a double. No possibility of a double, so that's the strategy they're taking here.
Känns hård. Linjen kommer, men ralla om någon, men
Looks like the weight's picked up a little bit of lane.
Yeah, that was a 14.4 second from hog to hog is what we're generally timing these rocks at.
Yeah, I think
That's a full second faster. You know, so what would you think? How many feet would you say that makes difference?
There's definitely enough movement.
You know, 5 to 10 feet from practice to now in the second end?
Yeah, I think so. This is a typical draw time for this part of the game. It gets up to 14 and a half. Even a 15-second hog to hog can make it to the top four with sweeping. There's a lot of tolerance on the draw weight on this ice, which has just been really fantastic ice all weekend. I talked to some of the curlers and they said, you know, sometimes even a high 13s will stop in the house and up to a 15. So there's a lot of tolerance, and it's all in the sweep management and the judgment. So Mike is going to make a play at this.
Fair bit of ice there. It looks like he's probably just going to play like a very down weight, tap that rock just out of the rings. I don't think he's calling too much weight on this shot.
Try and give you back 12, back line, and
calls back 12, back line. There we go. Call out of his hand is back 8 on that, so the sweepers are already starting to work on it. They're trying to control the line a little bit. That's a
room. Hard.
They're trying to get a little bit of a roll, just paper that guard, get a little inside roll if they can.
What a great shot. Just got by that guard.
They've made it really difficult for Oscar Eriksson to try and get to that rock.
That was a perfect roll. It is a long guard, so we'll see if they feel that they can get to that. They'll certainly try. There is a possibility of a jam on the one side, so they have to maneuver by that.
It looks like on the outturn side you can see just a piece of that rock, but it's a very delicate shot.
And the outturn is the side that is lined up for a possible jam.
Med min intern där så borde jag nästan kunna komma upp på chapp. Nej, men ja, en tredjedels träff tror jag klart få ut det med en 10. Tänker så där för chapp. Vad tänker du för fart? Ja. Jag tror så där. Går ner och ser från känslan från hacka. Ja.
Lots of discussion on the weight, I think, right there.
Ja. Lite till.
So that's a fair amount of ice for a hit type shot, so this will be a soft weight. tap kind of shot
lite grann och klipper den egen så blir det ju 3 i arslet så.
with a lot of communication to be
10-0 typ. Försöka bara ta den över egen.
done here to make sure that they are listening for the weight and watching the line. Make this rock as close as they can.
With Oscar being a left-hander, it makes it a little bit easier to see this rock from his hack.
Good point.
Makes the path actually a little bit easier for him to play down, and it's actually his in turn. Looks like he may have set that just a shade out.
Matt.
Which is not a bad thing on this ice.
Whoa, whoa.
And that's taken off. The sweepers are on it. Just by that guard. And a terrific shot. But a little firm, rolls out of the rings. I think he was hoping to keep that one sticking around his own shooter.
Well, I think one thing I find interesting about that shot is that the sweepers really, really wanted to stay on that shot. They kept being called off by the line callers, but they really wanted to stay on that. And we've seen so many rocks here this week take a jump. If you lift the brush off, they take a jump and you lose the line on it. And so they were being very preventative there and being very mindful that if they lifted their brushes that rock would take off. So good team shot.
Great team shot and well-managed rock, and forcing Mike McEwen to draw in to get his single point and tie this game at 1.
Both there, but
Line's good. Tell him. Hard.
This looks like
ja, den är helt
a good draw.
Ja, ser ut att stanna. Försvärmar den här bilen väl nu.
Nicholas pretending that he's going to try to sweep it through, but he knows that weight is perfect. Mike McEwen draws to the forefoot to take a single point. The game is now tied at 1-1 with Team Adin now taking the hammer again.
Jag tycker vi har spelat bra.
So as the curlers have said, this has been a really amazing event all weekend. There have been a lot of support from the local community here in Penticton, with so many of the local businesses climbing on board to bring this huge event to Penticton. This is the biggest event on the tour outside of the slam events, with a huge prize pot, and the best teams in the country are here competing. Some of the great sponsors that are here supporting this spiel and have made this event possible is Ashley Home Store, supplying furniture and sponsorship, and 3 other huge sponsors that helped out to bring this event here to Penticton. New Floors with Brad Wood, Cascades Casino, which is right next door here, a beautiful facility, and Rona and Tim Hortons, huge supporters of this event along with many others. And also a shout out right now to Shaw Okanagan, Shaw TV Okanagan. They are a huge supporter of curling, and they're very enthusiastic about bringing these games to you today. We're thrilled to be here with Shaw and are enjoying getting to know the people that brought this program here. They've got a lot of volunteers from Shaw here in Penticton, and we're very pleased to be bringing this 2 games for you.
So
here
2
today.
places you can watch this game is on Shaw TV Okanagan if you YouTube it, or just if you're a Shaw subscriber, you can just watch it on Shaw. But Shaw TV Okanagan, if you want to search it on YouTube as well. It's unbelievable, Elaine, this for a first off event, the job that they've done here. I've heard nothing but accolades from all the teams on the conditions, the volunteers, what's been going on.
Well, the thing about an event of this magnitude, there are a couple of things that are critically important to the success of a World Curling Tour event like this. Number 1 is you need to have enough prize money to attract the top teams. And this is, I believe, the highest or closest to the highest prize pot outside of the slam event. So amazing effort by the community of Penticton in raising enough money to bring these top level teams here. the second one is you need to have those teams here. It needs to have some of the top teams on the World Curling Tour on the order of merit to give prominence to the Spiel and to entice others to come to it, to attract the sponsorship and the media attention. And the last one is the ice has to be fantastic, because the players and teams, they'll come once to an event that has a large prize pot, but if the ice is not great, they won't come back. It's as simple as that. And so the ice here this week, under the direction of Chris Jones, the ice maker here in Penticton, it's just been amazing. And the curlers have been talking about it. For a club ice event, it's been second to none. Money, ice, and the right teams here. That's a
good formula.
The perfect storm.
That's a very good formula. So you see in this end, Oscar Eriksson asking his lead to wrap around and just to corner freeze that top red one, forcing McEwen in the first or the second end to take his 1 point and give up the hammer. So last rock advantage goes to Team Edin in the third end, tied up at 1 apiece.
I think you just want to try to go right here, Matt.
So these first few shots of every end are all about establishing angles, leaving your team the best angle, and trying to create the situation where your opposition has a detrimental angle. It's kind of a chess game of just piling those angles on top of each other one by one, and eventually somebody will have an angle that they'll be able to make a play and take control of the house.
Yep. Yeah! Whoa! Okay.
So we have had some questions coming in about why is Nick Edin not skipping and not throwing last rock, and it is an Olympic year for this team. They have known for quite some time that they will be Sweden's representative in Pyeongchang in February for the Olympic Games. So with that knowledge, they're in a little bit of a different position than some of the Canadian teams who are still trying to acquire that spot. For Team Edin, they are now preparing for the Olympics and making sure that everything there is taken care of. And one of the things that we know is things can happen at the Olympics where a player goes down, or there's an injury, or something happens where you have to play in a different rotation. And I believe that they have played this whole event just testing out that situation, that if for some reason Nick Edin is not able to skip or throw last rock, that they've got this covered. And as I mentioned earlier, I think this is a very successful experiment, because Team Edin, with Oscar throwing last rock right now, is 6-0.
It's not bad.
Nice run back there with two red stones kind of controlling that zone right now.
Missar med 3 centi där ungefär, där nere.
Lots of rocks to come, but Mike's pretty happy with how this end is unfolding so far.
I think so. It's kind of top 4. You could probably throw the out if you want.
Mike trying to use that center guard
out's fine.
and play the out turn, hit on that red one, and roll in behind the cover.
Again, I believe they're trying to avoid that outside part of the sheet that's a little less played and a little less predictable than that band of ice going down. I guess around the middle of the 8-foot to the middle of the 8-foot is the ice that they've been playing all game so far. Not sure if that's exactly what he wanted to do.
Svårt att göra
Well,
något
he's got
där.
it lined up
I så fall
quite nicely.
skickar den på den.
It's pretty good though.
Hoppas på att
He's
man
lying
dubblar där.
second, third, and
Funtar bara
fourth
på att
stone.
slå här.
Not in a rush to obviously
Eller
have
frysa.
shot rock.
And some good angles up there at the front of the house. It wasn't exactly what he called, but the result was quite good.
Han kan inte...
It looks like those two rocks are beside each other, so he's got a couple ways to get to that
Och det är
shot
inte så
rock
lätt
if he
att bara
needs
tappa
to.
fritt heller. Tar han lite insida så stägar han dem och så är
And
den
I think that's
öppen.
what Oscar is worried about right now, is to
Det
try
är
and
ganska lätt att bara spela
change
den
those
här
angles, make it
och
not
få
so
bort
easy
den, men
for McEwen's team to get in at
han
that
kommer ju röra
shot
sig
blue
lite.
stone.
Funtar på om det är bättre att frysa.
A lot of discussion going on right now between Nick and Oscar. I guess that's to be expected.
Frysen så är det svårare för dem att få bort i alla fall. Passera T-line med en dryg
You
sten.
would never want to
Deras hänger bak
ignore
fyra.
the experience that Nicodine has
Curlar.
in these kind of situations.
Over in sheet B in the other semi-final, we see Kevin Cooey hanging his head as he plays a come around. He was being forced to try and draw in for his one and maybe bump back to get multiple, a little bit full, and gives up a steal of one. And in his 8-end game, DeCruz now up 3-0 after 2 ends. That's a bit of a lead in a short 8-end game.
Linjen är lite vid fortfarande. Är den hård så har vi ingen backing.
In the men's play, figures would show us that
Fortfarande lite vid.
if a team is up 3 points after 2 ends, they have a 94.7% chance of winning that game. Those
That's
stats,
unbelievable.
thanks to Curling Zone and my friend Renee,
Everyone knows this for now.
and we've got more later.
You can make it rolling a little. Right in the nose is fine. Feel.
So Team Nadine makes a nice corner freeze on that McEwen stone on the wings. It looks like Mike's asking for a hit and a little bit of a roll. Just wants to catch the inside of that and roll behind the cover.
Whoa.
Well, he stuck it, and it's still lying second, third, and fourth stone with still opportunity to get in there. And it looks like the same call for Nicodine to throw into there.
I think Mike might be waiting for that rock to get a little higher in the house before he goes for the roll.
Bra linje. Ur farten. Kalla.
It's taking a long time for it to break, and there it starts to curl.
T-line. Bra linje.
Sweepers are on it, just trying to hold it
Krippa.
so it doesn't
Nej, kör,
overcurl.
kör, kör.
Now they're
Här,
trying to
kör,
put some
Krippa.
curl into
Linje,
it.
Kom igen nu.
Weight is really good on
Kom igen,
that.
kom igen, kom igen, kom igen.
So that's the way you throw that kind of a shot.
Bra skött, gubbar.
What a great call and what a great shot. Draw weight,
Bara kalla så.
if you throw within the tolerance, then you just put it in the hands of the sweepers to manage it right down to the perfect spot. And
the only other
with the
shot
tolerance
left,
thrown in that shot by
let him
Nick,
split the house and
they were able to let that rock run along, wait for the break point, and then just basically place it where they wanted to because it had enough
Well,
life
the
left
pro-
in
it's
it, and
gonna pop.
they got on it right when it started to
But we
break,
could
and
probably
they're
keep
able
it
to
behind or
control the path right to the exact position that they wanted. So that's a really great example of how to throw and make a great draw.
So Elaine,
the two
you've said it a few
shots are
times,
you're
manage the
either-
stone. Is that what you're talking about? What the sweepers are doing with it all the way through?
you're either just hammering this. or
Yes,
you're
there's
playing this
so many
now.
decisions to make along the way and so much information to exchange
are we
on
gonna
every
be
shot, but
shot?
especially a draw shot, and
yeah, we'll be
especially a draw shot
This
that
is
has
the best
other
you can do.
rocks in play or implicating its final
It's
position.
probably
So,
coming to here.
you know, the sweep, the first call will come from the thrower, and they might provide a little bit of information about what they think they threw, if it was close, or if it was a little up or down, or maybe something about the release.
Is it a better
And then the
scenario if
sweepers
we
start
rip
making
this,
their
let 'em
decision
play,
about what
and
kind of influence they're going to have on that shot to get it to its perfect
This is,
destination,
gonna be
because
tough.
they're going to have some play in that. And if it's not perfect, they want it to be as perfect as can be. So it's a constant decision making all the way through the life of that stone
If you rip
to
this
decide the
now,
combination
and
of
he
the
splits,
weight
we're
and
not
the
dealing with
line,
a frozen
and that was
situation.
just an example of some really great decision making. The line caller is providing a little bit of feedback
Does he
of
ever?
where
I
the
don't
rock
think he comes
is,
here.
but those sweepers know, they know where
If
they
he
have
threw
to
a
get
draw,
that
it
rock
would
to.
be here.
Let's listen in and see what Mike's thinking about.
True.
Mike,
Well, I
what do
mean,
you think?
I played on my first stone. I'm gonna have it anyways.
I think it's all about the timing here.
I'm
That's
gonna
what
have
he's
to draw my
discussing.
last one anyways,
You know,
if
what
I need
shot,
it.
when does he go after that shot rock?
I hate this situation here. But I don't mind playing it now. Like, what's your gut, Matt?
This is a real team. Hey, you know, you're talking to your second here, asking what his feeling is on the strategy. It's not just one player, and it's not just your third and skip. It's the whole team
Okay,
making team decisions here.
play it now.
It's a good point, Jock, and you don't get to that point in a team building or team dynamic without a lot of work
Make it an
going
easy
into
weight.
that. They've been in these kind of situations
We'll get some curl here.
hundreds and hundreds of times, and so that conversation is easy to have out there. It's not
I
like
mean, we could
somebody's
play
doubting
the out
somebody.
'cause
It's
we've
just a
seen it.
conversation.
I threw that bumper weight double here. Yeah, but I know the ice. Okay, throw this. We'll get a bit of curl. Easy weight.
So it sounds like they've talked him into playing the intern over here, which he doesn't feel quite as confident on the line call.
Clean. Clean. Oh, no.
It's running,
Really
it's
jabbed.
tracking. He's not happy about this one.
It's not good.
I think that might have been a little more weight than they expected. Either that, or he may have just directed a little bit.
It sounded like,
Outward motion.
yeah, it sounded like BJ Newfield right out of his hand said I jabbed it a little bit, so which means he's tracking it. It's going to track a little bit more. Here we go on the replay,
I guess we should have waited.
and you can see the sweepers backed right off on that one. It just stayed out there the whole time. So obviously he got that rock. He just kind of directed it right at the broom, and it held the line a little bit longer than they wanted.
Contrasting examples on those last two shots for Team McEwen with the perfect, or with Team Edin with that perfect communication of managing that freeze down to that outside shot, and then Team McEwen having the shot basically taken out of the sweeper's hands because of a little bit of a release issue at the end of the shot that made it unmanageable. There was just nothing that they could do with it with that small error.
Jag gillar det.
Elaine, would you call this like
Tapparna lite grann.
release sensitive ice?
Är det perfekt så
I
fryser vi.
believe it's release sensitive ice. It is a little bit, the break point will change significantly if you direct it outside a little bit, and that's not a bad thing. You just need to ice for that and make sure you don't overthrow it. It is easy to control it if you are out of the hand, if you're getting what you requested and what you expected. It's quite easy to manage, or at least manageable.
So it looks like Oscar is asking third Nick Edin to just come down to that rock. It looks like the call. Maybe just bump it back a little bit so he can lie three.
Which is going to leave some fairly big decisions for Mike McEwen, because he's going to have a couple of rocks behind the tee line, and still the opportunity of a center guard with a rock only in the top 8 foot. So he's going to have a decision as to whether he's going to decide to go for it or whether he's going to try to limit the damage here.
Rent.
So you can see, I heard right out his hand, no for line, no for line. Sweepers are staying off this thing. They're waiting until it gets right to the nose before they give it a little sweep and a bump back to lie 3.
Jävla livigt träffar han också.
Very happy, obviously, with that shot. We'll go back to the replay on that one. And you can see they're staying off that one, waiting for the curl to take hold.
This is probably our only way out.
Sweepers are just keeping it clean, letting that rock go all the way down by itself.
So we have something to hide behind. It's our only way out. We're screwed right now.
Another lovely shot.
This is the only way to avoid giving up 3. Otherwise, we're giving up 3 all day.
So Team McEwen is well aware that they are in some significant trouble right now without the hammer.
Let's say make this out turn to here. That's there.
It's there.
This? Well, I think I'd rather play the draw.
Om man spelar den nu och gör den, frågan vad man gör då. Man försöker dubbelskjuta. Kommer något på innan.
Kind of like rattle it in here.
So Mike's got 2 shots left
It's
here.
one or the other. Whatever I call,
So he's just trying to figure out what he wants to do with this first one to set up for his second one to get out of this end. He's looking, he went from looking in really good shape, lying second, third, and fourth.
It's not the end of the world.
Now
this is
Oscar's got himself set up quite nicely to be lying 3. And Mike's in a bit of trouble,
steal or give up 4.
especially since he doesn't have the hammer.
Okay. Just a shade high, and might get lucky. Might be able to get through him. Just a sliver high.
You can see Mike's looking at the run back. It's never good when you're running the opposition into the opposition. You'd rather be running your own rocks in there.
Definitely. I think he's now decided to see what he can do and to clean up on the first one, and then he'll have the same decision on his second one depending on what happens here.
Well, he's got a bit of an advantage with that shot stone on the side being behind the tee line, so he's always got that to get out his end if he can make a brilliant shot with his last one.
And we'll kind of roll our shooter just about a rock. Because it's only a sliver high, not even that.
And in addition, he's talking about where he wants to leave his shooter. That'll give him one more option of one more rock to try to make better on his next shot.
Mike with that Manitoba tuck delivery, throwing the out turn. Almost no ice.
Okay, something.
He makes the run back, leaves the guard right on the center line, and leaves Nick Edin's team lying 2 with the hammer.
We're going to take another look at that shot.
Känns lite äckligt att slå på det där, det är risk att man lägger upp.
So we've got, there's Nick, which set up this whole end is Nick Edin's shot over to the side.
That's what created this situation that Mike was faced with.
Nej, jag funtade på om man kan ju låta den ligga.
So he's looking at what options here. What's he trying to take away from Mike McEwen?
So Mike's going to have 2 choices, depending on what Edin does here, what Oscar, where Oscar places his rock. One of them is that freeze down to that shot rock in the back, and the other one's going to be making a play somewhere around the center. Oscar's talking about kind of Christmas treeing that rock. That's partially burying this rock around that red guard. What they need to think about is if they go behind this red rock, Mike's going to have 2 ways, 3 ways to access that shot. One by accessing it directly with trying to tap or hit it. And if it's more buried, he will have an opportunity to run one or the other of those short red guards into that rock. None of them are great options because he's still looking at multiple points here. So we'll see where.
I think Mike McEwen at this point is going to be happy just to give up 2 or less on this end.
I think he'd be pretty happy at this point to give up 2.
It looks like they're calling top 4 foot with the in-turn draw.
Ja, precis. Ja. Ja, tycker det.
And again, I think this is one of those rocks that has to be really well managed. You want to make sure that you give it enough room around that guard. We saw earlier that you have to clear the guard a fair way so you don't come out the other side.
Definitely critical that this rock is in front of the tee line. This rock has a lot of rotation. 14.5 seconds from hog to hog, which should be perfect. It is gliding quite a bit.
And it's looks like it's open. A little bit of it anyway.
No sweeping whatsoever on that shot. Would have been nice to be able to have a little bit of management to articulate a little bit more precisely where exactly they wanted that shot to go.
So that's one of those situations that you want to involve the sweepers and bring your weight down. Don't want to throw it perfectly. You want to give your sweepers an opportunity to guide that rock to its correct path.
Yeah.
So Mike's seeing an opportunity. He's actually going to give up the one and just freeze to that top one, and then see if Oscar has the ability to get another point in there.
Yeah, this is a good call. It's probably the must call for Mike at this point. It's got to be a perfect shot. If Mike makes a perfect shot, then he has created a situation where Oscar will have a more difficult shot to try to get a piece of the full 4-foot or a piece of the button with Mike's shot a little bit to the left, frozen, but a little bit to the left of this blue shot. So it's going to be a very small piece of the ice that Oscar will have access to, as long as this shot is perfect. If this shot is not perfect,
then you're leaving an opportunity of 3 or possibly 4 points.
Danny, it's your stone. No bounce. Hard.
Oh, that's a terrific shot. Sweepers managed that one beautifully. Right.
Very nice.
For a perfect freeze. There isn't even, it's such a brilliant shot that it's not even a question. There's no play on it at all.
Yeah. It was perfect, and the sweepers were very confident about their judgment on that. There was a little bit of question, not panic, but a little bit of angst from the line calling about whether that rock needed sweeping and who should be sweeping it. But those sweepers knew exactly what they were doing. You could see them switching at the last moment there to get every last little bit of curl.
And just nuzzled right in there, right on the nose.
Yeah, that was a lovely shot. That's a game saver.
So now, today's skip and last rock thrower, Oscar Eriksson is throwing, trying to get a piece of the button. He's got to get at least full 4-foot to get in there for his second point. You can hear Nicodine calling T-line, no for line. And he looks a little bit heavy. And does it stick around in the back? It's close. No.
You think there's
Ja, jag får grädd fram på.
to get around a
Ja,
corner?
bra omgång igen.
So from our angle, we are not quite sure whether that shot was made. I think it was.
Well, I'm going with the high fives on that one that they're giving it. It's going to be 2 points.
We will confirm that. We think that was 2 points. Yeah, 2 points. So that was a beautiful shot. That's why the skips get the big bucks. In this case, Oscar stepping into that situation of being the last rock thrower and proving that he is very qualified to do that with a full draw to the full 4-foot for a second point.
Just over on the other semifinal, Kevin Cooey strikes a 2, gets himself back into the game. That's a pretty important 2 when you're down 3-0.
Yeah, that was a must-score situation over in the other semifinal, when you're 3 down in an 8-end game, you got to get on the scoreboard, hopefully with multiple points in order to... He's still in a bit of a hole with being 1 down without, but the game is within reach. So this Bonspiel began with 4 pools of 6 teams in each pool. Each of the 6 teams played the round robin within that pool, so they had 5 games, with the top teams advancing into the quarterfinal. So it wasn't the top teams from each pool, it was the top teams overall. So no matter who you played against in your pool, the win-loss record overall advanced the teams to the quarterfinal. And there was a little bit of a complication after the round robin, and a lot of people here at the Penticton Curling Club running around figuring out what was going to happen at the end. Required 2 tiebreakers yesterday. Some teams were had played up to 4 games yesterday to get all the way to that quarterfinal yesterday to determine the last 2 teams to make it into the semifinal. And today we have the final 4, which, interestingly enough, none of them went through that tiebreaker situation yesterday, so maybe a little bit more gas in the tank than some of those quarterfinalists last night that had that long, long day. But these guys are used to that, and they're happy to have an opportunity to play those tiebreakers. Throws a little bit of a wrench into things for the organizers, but Penticton here handled it beautifully. They had a great player liaison here with Matt Tolley and a great draw master, Cy Gladish, who organized the draw and looked at all the different scenarios. And then, of course, as always, Jerry Gertz was just a phone call away to make sure that everything that they're doing here at this event coincides and is consistent with everything that happens at any other tour event.
You know, I didn't hear too many of the fans complaining about all those tiebreakers. They packed the building. It was a fun day yesterday. Lots of curling to watch, and they weren't let down. The fans were here out in full force, and the games were amazing. But we did end up with the 4 best teams, and as I said a little bit earlier, of the 4 teams out here, there's only 1 loss that's even occurred, and that would be the Kevin Koe rink losing to the De Cruz rink because they came out of the same pool. And that's the only loss that these 4 teams have out here. Everyone else undefeated.
I think that speaks to the time of the season and what these teams out here are training for and competing for. Each of them has a huge reason to be really dialing it up at this part of the season. The Canadian teams getting ready for the Olympic trials just a couple of weeks away. The international teams with Team Sweden and Team Switzerland, they've known for some time that they're going to the Olympics, but they are trying to put the finishing touches on their game, to try out those last few things, to really feel like they're building confidence going into this part of the season.
We can't forget about the two European teams also have the Europeans coming up, which are their qualifiers to get to the World. So they've got to finish in the top 6 at the Europeans to make it to the Worlds, with the men's Worlds being in Vegas, and the women's Worlds are over in North Bay, Ontario.
Yeah, now I'm not sure for sure whether these are the 2 teams going to the Europeans. Sometimes a country will send another team to have an opportunity to play at the Europeans, but there will still be another determination after that time to determine which team will go to Las Vegas to the World Men's Curling Championship.
Get it back here.
So Mike McEwen is desperately trying to make something happen here. There were a few rocks in play, but that was quickly eliminated with 1 big shot.
Det är väl hit vi inte vill, Vicka långt, Vicka har vi okej.
So after 3 ends of this 8-end semi-final, we've got Nicholas Edin skipped by Oscar Peterson today. Sorry, Oscar Eriksson today, up 3-1. That's what happens when I listen to jazz. A little too much Oscar Peterson. And for those of you watching on Shaw TV, Okanagan on YouTube, yes, that was Nicholas Edin sweeping that rock. He's playing third today. Change in the lineup, leaving Oscar Eriksson to throw fourth and call the game.
I mean, I don't mind playing this.
Trying something a little bit different for this event.
So these athletes out here, they train to a huge degree, and you think maybe somebody like Nick Edin, who has skipped all his life, skipped all his career, may not be equipped to get out there and sweep for an entire competition, but that's just simply not the case. We know for a fact that these teams have incredible workout schedules and plans and systems in place. They've got training plans in every area of performance, and every athlete that's out here on the ice today is extremely physically fit.
We're looking for here, Danny.
In the case that they had demands beyond those that they would normally have in their position or in a competition, they're ready to play extra tiebreakers, or they're ready to sweep.
Really drag it for height.
If that's not what they're usually doing.
Keep going, keep going.
Incredibly fit, incredibly prepared.
Okay, good try.
Working in every different area of performance and understanding each other's roles and responsibilities.
You got to think this with Eriksson lying 3 right now and Mike McEwen throwing up another center guard. That's got to show a little bit of desperation to try and score 2 points this end.
Well, these athletes out here, these teams, they know the scoreboard statistics. They know how that scoreboard has to look after each end in order for them to have a chance to win this game, especially when they're playing the top teams in the world. Right now in these 4 teams out here, we have De Cruz ranked number 8 in the world, Hui ranked number 5 in the world, Edin ranked number 2 in the world, and McEwen number 6. So these are the teams that are well aware of these numbers of what has to happen on that scoreboard, and almost halfway through the game in the 4th end, being 2 points down against Team Edin is not a favorable position. Something has to happen here in order for Mike to have a chance to come back and win this game. And he's only got this end plus 4 more, or maybe 5 with an extra end to do that.
So he's called a hit on this one, and he was hoping, I think, for a little bit of a roll towards the middle.
So after 3 ends of game, after 3 ends of play, if a team is 2 down with hammer, they have a 24.9% chance of winning this game. So 25% chance is not great odds.
No, but it's better than the 6% chance that Kevin Cooey had being 3 down.
Yes, and we'll stay on top of those numbers end by end. Thank you, Jerry Gertz and Renee Soderberg.
So it looks like we're trying to keep simple play over here from Nick Edin's team. Just trying to hit and stick. Remove that redstone, lie 3, and don't give Mike McEwen's team too many opportunities behind the tee line to bring a rock in and freeze it.
So Team Edin is trying to force Mike McEwen to take a point here.
You throw the out too. Stick in the end.
Mike McEwen has nothing happening at this point. Nothing really in a setup position, so it looks like 2/3 of the way through the end here, he's going to start to bail and look for a blank.
No stranger to the big weight hits. BJ Neufeld looking for a double here.
Yeah.
Shot.
Nice shot. Lovely shot. Takes 2 shots to get out of this situation. But, well, we'll have another look at this double.
Shot. Frågan om jag ska spela normal också. Om jag ska glida en 10.
Lots of rotation on that rock, and he catches a little less than half, comes Ross and takes out that other one. And as 2 shots to go, Mike said, we just need 2 doubles to get out of this end.
Ja. Över till 4-fotskanten är väl ganska svår dubbel. Blir det tjafs så.
So we're into skip stones here with Oscar Eriksson throwing his first. McEwen having the hammer. So he's just trying to remove that rock from play and stick around. Quick call for line. Very quick call on the line. Doesn't have an awful lot of that rock.
Sorry.
While that's not ideal, it's not a tragic situation. It just prevented Team McEwen from having to make a double.
Elaine, with this rock being behind the tee line, is there no thought that goes on here with maybe playing a freeze to try and get your second point?
Definitely that would be an option, especially since there's just the one shot there now. Mike could try that because likely if he played the freeze, they would smash and they'd still have the opportunity for the blank. But for some reason, Mike is, I think, pretty committed to the blank at this point.
Clean.
And he hits and sticks with that one, leaving not much doubt what to get called here for Oscar Eriksson. So it's just a straight hit and stick here. Try and get Mike McEwen to try and hit and roll out.
Right beside it should be a pretty good reach.
Making for a very quick end of play.
These two teams have played once previously this season at the Masters, just a little several weeks ago, where Team Edin beat Mike McEwen's team 4-2. So this is the second time they've played this season, but many times in the past.
And it looks like oh, he does not get the blank. Mike hits and sticks. That's a disappointing shot for him. Hoping to retain hammer. Instead, what he does is he gives up lost rock advantage for just a single point, making it 3-2 with Edin having the hammer going into the fifth and up 1 point.
So that's a very favorable position for Team Edin to be one up with, which is considered in control at this point in the game. And we know that when Team Edin is in control from end 3 on, they have a 100% win probability to date.
Switching over to sheet B in the other semifinal, we have Team De Cruz up 3-2 with the hammer. They're currently lying 3 behind a couple, looks like 3, maybe 2 behind a couple corner guards there. It's in a tough situation. We're going to be throwing first skip stones, for Kevin Koe. He's not in an enviable situation here, Elaine. It's
no, there are quite a few blue rocks in there right now.
Does he have an opportunity to get in there? I think right now his only way of getting out of this is either that really long run back as a double or just wrapping around and freezing.
Yeah, 2 choices here. So each skip has 2 shots to come. And similar to the decision that Mike McEwen had to make in the third end, Kevin's got some choices here. And he can play a come around draw. That run through is pretty tough.
They know how important this is. they're down 1 point already without the hammer, and they know they cannot give up a 2 here. They've got to really be looking at how they can force or get out of this end, only giving up at most a 2. They really don't want to. They'd rather be forcing them.
So we'll keep an eye on that situation over there. They're giving it some thought, and we're coming back over to the feature game right now.
So back over on sheet D, we've got Nicholas Edin being skipped by Oscar Eriksson today, and throwing fourth rocks. They're up 3-2 over Mike McEwen's Winnipeg rink, and Edin's team has the hammer. As anticipated, Mike McEwen's lead. Denny Neufeld threw up the center guard, and then Nick Edin's team has wrapped around with one top 8 foot.
Top call, freeze it.
Mike's not panicking too much. He's going straight into the rings and calling for a freeze.
While we watch these next few shots unfold, we want to thank a few more of the people that made this event possible here in Penticton. Some of the other major sponsors that made a huge contribution to bringing this huge World Curling Tour event to Penticton. Renaissance Investments, Cannery Brewing Penticton, and the City of Penticton, and the Copper Mug Pub. Some of the extras that they've done here have been amazing as well. And the opening night, there was a big sponsor recognition night where the sponsors got to rub shoulders with the athletes, the best curling teams, some of the best curling teams in the world, and they had a lovely evening over at the Cannery Brewing. The guys really enjoyed that. It's something a little bit different, getting out of the curling rink for a few minutes and having a bit of social time, so that was great. And the people here at the Penticton Curling Club have been incredible in bringing all of these partners together in bringing this huge event here to Penticton. So you hear a little bit of applause over there. Kevin Cooey played a little bit of a run through, and still 3 rocks to come over there, so we'll visit back there later. So that's not a terrible result there. It's not what was called, but it is a situation where a typical slight miss on these ice conditions have been not sweeping through that break point, waiting just a little bit too long to get onto that shot, and it breaking and over-curling very quickly. That's a characteristic of this ice, and it just requires a lot of thinking ahead and split-second decision-making, and in that case, just a little bit of an error on getting on it too late. However, they are definitely not unhappy with getting that rock off the center line and ending up with 2 corner guards.
Line's good.
Pretty open play.
That's the curl.
You got to think here in the 5th end that Edin with the hammer and up a point is feeling fairly in control of the situation.
Hard beach! Hard! Hard!
And they're really trying to keep that 4-foot path clear and visible for the skipper to get at least get their single, if not 2, out of this end. This has got to be a great segue. You think the Ashley Home Store Curling Classic for the Scotties coming up here in January of 2018. You know, the crowds have been amazing. The volunteers have been incredible. The curling has been awesome, and the ice. But you got to think this is going to put a little energy into that Scotties coming up.
Yeah, it's interesting that with these 2 major events here in Penticton, which is a fairly, middle-sized town, medium-sized town, but in this short period of time, they have a major men's event and a major women's event, which is a wonderful situation for the curling supporters here in Penticton. In just a couple of months from now, right next door at the beautiful arena here in Penticton.
And it is gorgeous. It's a relatively new facility.
All of the teams from across Canada will be coming for the Scotties Tournament of Hearts, which is the creme de la creme of women's curling in Canada. The women get to compete in those beautiful conditions.
Needs to sit. It's pretty good.
And the Scotty being a little bit earlier than in the usual time frame this year because of the Olympics in early February, which is usually the time that the Scotty would be on. So the Scotty is several weeks earlier than usual, kind of bringing forward all of the women's events across the country.
Oh, very fortunate getting a roll in off that corner guard.
Sorry. Stuff happens.
And we had an apology there from Oscar Eriksson to Mike McEwen on that. Very fortunate. They were just trying to clear the guard, which they did, but they got an in-off their own rock going into the rings, cleaning things up, leaving Mike in a very desperate situation with Nicodines lying 2 blue stones and having the hammer. Mike obviously desperate to get
gotta make a roll somewhere now.
to score somewhere.
So Mike,
I actually don't mind playing this.
listen to him for a moment here.
That's the shot, I think. I think you leave this.
So over on sheet B, we've got the De Cruz rink skipped by Peter De Cruz, but last rock being thrown by Benoit Schwartz. Benoit is about to throw the last rock. He's already lying 1 with a 3-2 lead, and he's trying to draw in for his second point, which would be a bit of a dagger in the heart of the Kevin Koe rink over in the other semifinal.
And Kevin did have an opportunity to come down. He was trying a come around draw, which we expected he would play, and he came up a little bit light, leaving the draw for 2. We'll let you know the result of that score. And over here, Team McEwen is still discussing their options.
Looks like a well-thrown rock by Benoit, and Sweeper's guiding it all the way down. He's going to hit, looks like he's going to hit the button there and get 2 points. So over in the other semifinal, we've got the rink skip by Peter De Cruz, leading 5-2 over Kevin Koe's rink from Alberta. And they're now going to be starting the 5th end. We've still got some discussion, heavy discussion here, because this is a turning point for Mike McEwen. They're
steep enough.
facing a bit of an uphill battle over here. On sheet D, Nicholas Dean is up 1, playing the 5th end with the hammer, and lying 2 at this point.
If you accidentally don't make this,
we're into 3rd stone, so we're getting late into the end.
Yeah. I'm okay with either beach.
So Mike's had to change his game plan.
Yeah.
He was not expecting to be in this situation before the little bit of a lucky break by Team Edine, where they had a outside edge rock roll into the house to be sitting 2 instead of the 1 that Mike was looking at. The situation is quite different when he's looking at that second shot in there. So he's had to switch from, you know, really trying to get some rocks in play with the risk of only 1 opposition rock in the house, to now having to make some of those blue rocks go away. And
yeah, I don't think Mike really wants to give up the 2 at this end, so he's doing everything he can to try and hold or even force Edine Stain to take 1.
Hard!
Looks like they're trying for the little roll behind the corner guard to take away that double.
what a great shot.
That's a terrific shot.
Den som måste slå den här, ligga 2. Frågan om vilar och vicka tillbaka. Chappar du.
A force here keeps Team McEwen's hopes alive. It's not an enviable position to be 2 down, playing 6, but it's certainly better than giving up multiple points. So a force here would be very beneficial.
Ja, det är lite samma läge som sist. Ja, antingen eller.
So it looks like Oscar Eriksson is asking Nicodine to play a little down weight hit and roll behind the cover. Roll behind those center rocks.
And the reason that they have elected to play this slightly more difficult shot rather than hit the open one is that when they hit and stick on this one, they will be sitting 2, and if they hit the front rock that was wide open, they would be sitting 1st and 3rd.
And you can see the sweepers are off that now.
Yep.
Going hard for the roll. Beautiful roll in behind.
Fick inte finishen riktigt. Bra spelat.
But it looks like they may have left a double there, Elaine.
For sure, there's a double there, which may also leave another double.
Is Nicholas Edin's team looking for the blank here? Or are they,
you just got to make this.
What are they? What's their objective this end?
I think they're going to be completely fine with either choice, either
you might be able to roll
taking a
perfect
blank
behind ours.
or getting 2 points. I'm
That's what
sure
you're
that they
trying.
are well aware of their scoreboard statistics of being in a 100% win situation to date this season, being in this scoreboard position. So I think their confidence at this point is very high. I think they'll look at every house situation and try to take on the least risk that they can.
Yep. Whoa. Yeah. Whoa. Whoa. Yeah. Whoa. Whoa.
Lotto on off of that.
Go,
Makes
go.
a beautiful double. Gets a great roll.
And just trying to get as much separation on those 2 shots on that roll
Oh, like
to
the handle stopped on it.
Vi tjappar nu.
try to prevent the double.
Maybe why it jumped off too, kind of.
Det är inte så lätt att rulla ditåt. Rullar han hitåt så blir det en ganska naturlig dubbel.
So it
Eller
looks
så spelar vi bara
like
den
the
och hoppas på
discussion
att
is
han
whether
inte
they
kommer
run the
runt.
double or try to score their 2 this end by hitting and
Oh,
rolling
God.
behind the corner guard.
Kan vi göra. Ja. Inte säkert att vi ligger skotta om vi ligger helium, men
Basically the best result.
det är okej.
Very interesting on these critical decisions or these more important decisions that there's a really great rapport going on here between Oscar and Nick on which direction they're going to go in.
Same double, so that's hard to say.
De står med samma fart.
Judging from the ice that's calling, it looks like he's going for the hit and roll. See if
Yep.
he can salvage his deuce out of this end and take a 5-2 lead. Sweepers are on it fairly quickly and off right away. Waiting on that curl, and it does curl late.
Japp. Håll käften.
And they do not get that roll.
Det är bra ändå.
Yeah. I like that. I really like that. I think they're looking for like.
Det är okej. Bättre där än att råka rulla av. Och så.
So this is the semifinals at the Ashley Homestar Curling Classic. I'm Jock Tyre. I'm sitting here with Elaine Dag Jackson.
down a touch.
This is the
Like, I don't wanna-
semifinal of
They can hold it.
of a $66,000 cash spiel brought to you by Ashley Homestar, and it's an amazing event so far. We've got the 2 semis going out here right now. We've got Nicholas Edin in control, up 3-2 with the hammer over on sheet D, and then over on sheet B, we've got Peter de Cruz is leading 5-2. Peter Cruz from Switzerland on Kevin Cooey's Alberta team.
And again, all 4 of these teams that are here playing in this semifinal, between all 4 of these teams, there's only been 1 loss, and that's because 2 of them played against each other. So definitely the teams that had the best performance throughout this competition are still alive here out on the ice. 4 really great teams.
So Mike looks like he's trying to get a little hit and roll, but he's I think he's going to get too much of a roll here. This is not a good thing for Mike.
Känns som att försöka vicka lite åt det där hållet.
That I got to say that's advantage of Dean now. They have an opportunity to blank this end if they so choose.
Yeah, that's a pretty significant mistake for this point in the game in the 5th end where the scoreboard is not in your favor. It's really critical to make those fairly simple shots, a hit and stick or a hit and roll. number one is you must stay in the house, at least make the opposition throw the harder shot. Now, Team Edin and Oscar, they've got an easy shot. They've got their choice of anything they want to do here with respect to taking a blank. It's interesting sometimes when you watch games like this with two world-class, world-leading teams, that one just seems to come out with a little bit more, I don't know, swagger, or a little bit of luck and a little bit of confidence, and little breaks go here and there. So it's not that Team McEwen has not played well, it's just the little things that have happened that have allowed Team Edin to get in a pretty advantageous position at this point in the game, and you can just feel it out there. Team McEwen is still confident, is still very focused and giving it everything, but you can just sense a little bit of frustration and a little bit of, you know, the knowledge that they are not in a great place here.
Both these teams came in at 6-0, so they're both undefeated, and they obviously, 6 games under the belt, they know this ice pretty well. So you've got to look at what are the small advantages that they can get on each other. You know, and I think you said it earlier that the rock managing seems to be done a little bit better by Team Edin. Managing those rocks, maybe letting.
Oh.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Another rollout. Mike's own chance of preventing a blank end here was to have a big cross the house roll behind that corner guard, which is a very difficult shot, but they have to really go for that roll. It's no risk to them if they don't make it. They have to go hard, just to the chance that they might be giving Oscar a more difficult shot to get the blank. But that did not happen. That rock rolled out of the house, and now it's a simple blank on to the next end.
Jag tyckte jag nästan var lite innanför. Okej. Det hände inget supermycket där. De var ju lite hård, men... Ja. Nice. Till att få poängen här.
Yep. Yep. Okay, so we've got, we're in the 6th end now with Team Edin holding on to the hammer. The score remains 3-2. It's just a 1-point difference, but the scoreboard is definitely in Team Edin's favor right now.
Easy.
So McEwen's right now, he's just trying to set up, get something in play, get a couple guards up there, and as you can see, it's Oscar Eriksson in the house instead of Nick Edin, which is usually. They're trying some different things, trying to get ready for the Olympic trials, or sorry, the Olympics. This team from Sweden has already qualified for the Olympics, so they're going right into the rings. On the side, they're going to try and keep the play up front as minimal as possible.
Börjar komma nu. Här nere är väl optimalt. Ja. Hurry. Perfect.
We're going to get a second guard here from Mike McEwen's squad.
Be pretty quick here.
We're playing the 6th end here of the 8-end semifinal, and with McEwen down by 1 and without last rock advantage, it's they find themselves in a little bit of an
2/3, guys.
behind an 8 ball, trying to tuck one in here, and they've only got 3 ends left to play to try and not just make up that 1 point, but
right here, Maddie, if you
get
can.
that hammer
Beach.
back, that all-important
Beach,
hammer back, and force the situation.
Yeah, hit it, Peach. Hit it. Drag it. Come on.
Shot.
got me now?
Jeez. Just wouldn't.
Sorry about that, curling fans. A little bit of an audio difficulty there. We had to move things around a little bit. But we're back. So Oskar Eriksson asking his second Rasmus Rana to tuck one in behind here. Again, trying to get the play into the forefoot as quickly as possible. And you can anticipate that as soon as he gets an opportunity, he'll be clearing those guards out. But with this 4-rock rule, you're not allowed to remove any of the rocks in the free guard zone until after the 5th rock has been played, or sorry, until after the 4th rock has been played.
Yeah. I think so.
So Team Edin in a very favorable position right now, being one up with hammer. This is a control situation for this team, and we know that 83.5% of the time,
Mine's good.
a team on the tour that is one up with hammer,
Looks like you got to go for
with 3 ends to go, will win that percentage of time, 83.5%, which is extremely good odds. Ice is getting...
Okay.
Well,
So that one came, I don't know if he got out into the wings a little bit. He threw it a little bit light, his almost a 16-second, which we've seen 14.5 being a top 4. Calling that one in, so kind of a bad break there. There might be a little bit of losing focus out there, or a little frustration starting to show, not being as attentive to the details here. And as I said earlier, Oskar is looking to see how he can clean up these rocks out in the front.
we know the ice conditions have been extremely consistent here, but it has been a little bit heavier on the outsides. Not only that, but a team is well aware that if they're down in points, they really need to play within the tolerance. They need to make sure that if they're not going to make the shot, they're short. Now that is a pretty big missed opportunity of making a come around there. It's a lot of feet between a perfect shot and a okay shot. So they've got to be a little sharper if they're going to take advantage of position, of the situation here. They are just one down, and a steal is not that difficult, but your rocks must be perfect.
Kunde ha gått för mot 8 också, men missar man precis så stickar man på blå. Okay.
So Mike's looking at the situation with his own red rocks out in front. So he's actually got fairly good control over that the scoring zone, the 4-foot strip down the middle. He's got 2 red rocks there.
I don't hate the guard.
He's just looking at whether he goes to another guard, or is he going to try and tuck one around with the ice conditions being a little
this isn't
questionable
crazy
out in the
either.
wings. He doesn't know what to expect out in the sides.
I don't mind it either.
Elaine, do you think that at the Olympics with the wider or international play with the wider sheet of ice, it makes a difference on where the ice gets broken in, or whether they use the wings a little bit more with those wider sheets of ice, international ice?
Well, typically on arena-type conditions, there's a little bit less effect of difference on the outside parts of the sheet. It's, you know, it's a little bit more consistent, a little bit more shiny all the way across the sheet. There are definitely a few factors that have to be considered when you've got that extra foot on the side of the sheets. Corner guards have to be placed a little bit differently, and you can play that outside-in shot more easily.
He's got the hit. Does he have the roll? He's rolling a long way.
Yeah, it's a little bit surprising to see these small little errors by Team McEwen.
Tar man lite tjock på den så tror jag den nattar kvar här.
So we're looking at the replay over here, and you can see the sweepers are on it hard, and Oskar Eriksson is in there right away trying to get that one. As he's allowed to sweep behind the tee line, he's trying to get that opposition rock to roll out and into the open, which it has. But now he's looking at clearing away those center guards.
Every opportunity that slips by for Team McEwen gives Team Sweden another opportunity to clean up a little bit more, and it's any one of those opportunities that Team McEwen has had if they make a perfect shot, they're just putting more pressure on the other team. They're not easy shots, but at this point, you need to be making those if you have a chance of coming back and getting back into this game.
Over in the other semi-final, we just saw Kevin Koe make a nice double takeout. He's still trailing 5-2, but he does have the hammer, and he is lying 3 at this moment. So things could get interesting over there on Sheet B in the other semi-final here at the Ashley Home Store Curling Classic. This is the semi-final matchups. Don't forget, we will be playing or broadcasting the final matchup about an hour after this game time starts at 11:45. Sorry, after this game finishes. So it's looks like he's going to try and run that, clear out that center guard, and maybe take out the one at the back at the same time.
Yeah, I think that would be a little extra. I don't think they're too worried about that. It would be a bonus if they clip that rock on the way by. A single or a double peel here are also great.
He's got his own, and there he goes to the back one, and he does make it. What a magnificent shot. Kills 2 corner guard, or 2 guard. Kills two guards and the back rock. Mike McEwen's got to feel a little despair after that.
Well, there's this thing called momentum in curling, and
you can see it. What a magnificent shot. Kills the corner guard, kills the center guard, rolls all the way back, and manages to take out the rock in the rings and leave only 1 guard, and very much in control of the situation in this end.
And it's so interesting in curling how that we've all been in those situations where you either had that momentum when everything's going right, or when you didn't and have that momentum and things are just not coming together for you. We've all been on both sides of that situation, and clearly Team Sweden, Team Edin, skipped by Oscar this weekend, is feeling that confidence and got the momentum, and it's going to take something special to derail them or to take them off their game at this point.
So just keeping it simple, not worrying about the guard, or if he ticks the guard, it won't be the worst thing that ever happened. He's going after that shot rock on the top 4-foot, but he's playing it with a bit of a down weight, hoping to hold on to his shooter.
If his shooter stays in play, then Mike has to deal with that. If he rolls out, then Mike gets a free pass to come around that guard.
Bra spel, Niklas. Snyggt. Riktigt bra.
Decision time.
Over on sheet B, the hammer is being thrown right now, the last rock, and it looks like Kevin Koe is drawing in for 3 points. After Benoit missed the double, he took out 1. Benoit Schwartz skip or throwing the last rock over on sheet B. Missed the double, left a free draw for 3, and Kevin Koe took advantage to tie up that game at 5 apiece.
Huge swing in that game. Being 3 down is obviously a very bad situation, but now tied up with 3 ends to go, things are looking a lot more hopeful for Team Koe. And back on our sheet,
Mike McEwen doesn't get a great result. He's looking for a little hit and roll in behind. Instead, he rolls open. He just got a downweight hit, looking maybe for a little roll. No, he's just trying to keep it right where it is, and a small roll in behind cover.
That's it. Just that. Yeah, hack it. Stäng första där. Det är ganska svår rull.
You can see the sweepers are on it hard, trying to get that right roll, and just gets a little inside roll, not quite behind that guard.
It was a perfect in between. Not a nose hit and not a hit and roll. Not sure exactly if they wanted the nose hit, but Mike now is facing a rock that's 2 rocks higher than he just did, and provides an opportunity to make a little bit better hit and roll, be a little higher in the house.
There's no doubt Mike's looking for the roll on this one.
It's close. No, it's...
He's a little bit full, it looks like, Elaine. And it looks like it's almost backing up, which we really haven't seen today.
Hard mat. Hard mat. Make sure you kill it.
Now there's some concern whether that rock's even leaving the rings. So he got a little bit of a roll, but not quite as much as he wanted.
Just in-outed it, and it just...
So Mike says he just in-outed that a little bit, which pretty good result if it wasn't thrown perfectly. Eliminated the rock and went tucked a corner behind the guard. It's not a difficult shot. Team McEwen is really making an effort to try to increase the degree of difficulty of Team Sweden's shots. And they are not having a lot of luck at doing that these last couple of ends. They'll continue to try to do that. They just need to dial up the difficulty. They're not going to be able to improve their situation until they get the other team looking at some tougher shots.
Yeah, you've got to take advantage of those little rolls and stuff, and give Oscar a tougher shot than the open hit.
Whoa.
It looks like that as well, but it's coming down. He didn't throw big weight, but he's just got a small piece of it at this point. Just enough to get it out. But his shooter rolls out as well.
Yeah, that was just enough to get that rock out. Again, Team McEwen getting no breaks. You need to create your own breaks, though. I think you just need to make that shot just a tiny bit better, make it a little bit more difficult, and on that throw, it might have been a different kind of situation for Mike.
But Mike's got a great chance here to force Dean Rink to, if he can tuck this one in and make it so they can't get to it, then maybe they want to get the hammer back and only be down by 2.
I think it's really fast. Till the end as it dives. I think it is.
Team McEwen just having a little conversation about how they're going to manage this shot.
Pull it out.
I think this is the key part, right, where you wait for it to take that curl, and you've got to get by that guard. You can't paper it because it'll come out the other side.
Matt's tight.
Yeah, they're.
Wow, is right. Comes up short on that one. No pressure.
So I noticed over the weekend that later in the game there were shots that, if they cross that center line just in front of the house where that slide path is fairly worn down, or at least had a lot of rocks over it, that they do, the weight comes off really quickly as that rock curls hard at that point. And probably a couple of ends ago, that rock would have been in the house, but curled across that center line, all that weight came off. So another easy blank for Team Edin. Oscar throwing this rock through the house. Team McEwen going to start over again and give it another try.
So here in the semifinal over on sheet D of the Ashley Home Store Curling Classic, this is the semifinal $1,000 event. You've got Team Nicholas Edin skipped by Oscar Eriksson, leading 3-2 with just 2 ends left to play and having the hammer. So very confident.
Ja.
Over on the other semifinal, we've got a tie game at 5 apiece with Peter de Cruz and Kevin Cooey at 5 each. But with the Cruz are here playing the 6th end.
And we are here at the Penticton Curling Club. It's a beautiful facility. Penticton is going to be hosting the 2018 Scotties Tournament of Hearts in January. It's a huge event coming here to this community. It's going to be a tremendous, exciting chance to watch some really great curling. Penticton's a wonderful little community in the Okanagan. If you haven't been here, you should consider making a trip to the Scotties. It'll be the first time that this event has been hosting the larger roster of expanded 16 teams in the 2-round robin, so there will be even more teams to watch. That's going to be January 27th to February 4th here in Penticton. The Penticton Curling Club, where we are right now, is situated in a recreation and entertainment district right in the middle of town. There's a casino, there's restaurants, there's concert and convention centers, as well as 3 events in a community center. It's a beautiful little area here. There's many hotels within walking distance, and it's going to be a really great event when the Scottie is here. This is kind of a tune-up for the local committee and the sponsors, and if it's any indication of how this event has gone, the Scotties is going to be one not to be missed. So
yeah, it's been a spectacular event. We're seeing a little bit of a change in strategy here. Ericsson's calling Christopher Sundgren to go to the wings instead of going around that center guard. A little bit of a change, indicating maybe they want to try something different for the last 2 ends.
Well, I think at this point they are, again, minimizing their risk each end they play. Many teams would be trying a tick. Each team has a strategy of if they play the tick and when they play the tick. So interesting to note that there's no attempt to remove that red rock from the center line. They elected to draw open. And so we watch how this unfolds, because pretty soon there's going to be 2 guards there, or a guard and two guards.
Where are we?
Looks like McEwen's calling him in. He's going to be really tight to that center guard. Yeah, he's just papered it, so the way things are curling, it's probably going to come out the other side, which it does. As we've seen with this ice, absolutely beautiful conditions, curling about 4.5 feet. You've got to get by those guards by a substantial amount, especially when they're in the middle of the 3-guard zone.
Yeah, earlier in the game, we saw both teams manage some shots perfectly. That combination of a really great throw within the tolerance by the thrower, some really great communication and decision-making by the sweepers as the rock travels down its pathway, and some input from the line caller. And with that kind of draw behind a guard like that, you really need to clear that guard and be sweeping that rock down into position to take the last curl, the last few feet, and tuck behind the guard. And as the ice changes a little bit, not a lot, a little bit, those shots become a little bit more difficult. And that one was not perfect. It was wide
That was
open.
a little bit down weight. He did call a roll to the wings instead of a roll behind that center guard, which we've seen all the way along here. So his weight was a little bit down. He got right to the nose of that rock and stuck it right there, but not what the skip had called. He definitely wanted to roll to the wings and leave that middle wide open.
Again, this is not the situation that Mike wanted to be in at this moment. He wants to be playing around a center guard to steal, or he wants to be forcing the opposition to take 1. You know, he's either got to steal or he's got to take 2 at some point here. And already Team Sweden is in a position where they do have 2 in play. It is hard to hold that throughout the end, but you know, Mike doesn't want to be seeing that kind of situation so early in the end. The one great thing, he still has the center guard, which is very positive. Hopefully he'll have a chance to make some use of that.
Elena, are you surprised at all that he didn't play 2 center guards?
A little bit, yes.
You know, this late in the game, he's only got 2 ends of play left, unless we go to an extra.
If he was, yes, I am a little bit. Generally, we see if someone's going for a hard steal, they will throw 2 center guards and see what unfolds. And at that point, you're saying this could be the last end, or this could be the defining end, because we're taking on enough risk that we're going to be okay, that if we don't steal, that we're risking giving up multiple points. But I think being one down without, Mike only has to steal once to tie here. So I think, again, his plan B is a blank. Yes, he'd like to steal. A blank is still going to put the game within reach.
We're in a bit of a different situation now. It just rolled away to the side. So if he does hit it on the nose, he's not going to be shot rock anymore with this one. So he needs to get that roll behind, 1 behind the center guard and 2 to be shot rock.
Yeah, for sure. He doesn't want to have any more separation between these blue rocks than there already are.
Hard, Dan, you got to roll it.
Perfect.
Really nice roll.
They've been waiting a few ends for that perfect roll, and now they got it. Very nice shot.
Det är för svåra att komma åt, så stor risk att den bara hänger kvar där. Ta en så eller?
Take another look
Well,
at it.
a
Nice
really
little
well-managed
roll.
rock. Waited for that, and then they called Denny to sweep that right away to get it behind that guard perfectly. So right now we're looking at a run back, or at least just clear that guard off. Make things very simple for Team Adine.
Yeah, good call. Now, decision time is that rock is certainly not good enough to steal.
Hålla det enkelt, inte riska mer än en etta.
I think I like the intern for the guard.
Halfway.
This is one of those moments that you think that that second guard might have been a good idea. He is shot, though, so putting up that center guard again with him lying shot, he looks like he might be in that force position, so he would be 2 down coming home, but still lots of rocks left to be played in this end.
Line's a bit tight. Still tight? Okay, don't touch. No, it's...
He does not want this to come into the rings.
It just needs to stop, I think.
He does not want to set up a double.
It's really tight.
And that is a little tighter than he wanted.
Ge den en liten chans, eller?
The closer those rocks are together, the easier it is to play the run-through double. The
En
more
kvast och en
distance.
sten ungefär.
So it looks like it's a broom length
Yeah.
Känns som
distance.
So they can run the double and get rid of the guards
tar du garden så
and
okej.
have nothing in play, which would be exactly what Sweden's looking for. Nothing in play.
Han vill ha is. Japp!
Wow, and
terrific
it rolls
shot.
for a corner guard.
Any corner? Nothing is going like, well,
Yeah,
you
that's
know
not
what?
terrible. That is potentially creating a force situation. If Team McEwen makes a really great freeze, corner freeze on that rock behind that guard.
Beautiful roll over there, but that rock is behind the tee line. And so it gives an opportunity for McEwen to get himself in
This
a
is
great
a really
position.
big shot here coming around this corner guard, a freeze attempt. It's an important shot in this end.
Yep. Rim.
There it goes. It's starting to break, and but it looks a little warm. Sweepers are backing right away from that rock. Not even close to it.
It's got to hit something to stop.
BJ Neufeld, a little bit firm on his weight there.
Yeah, an opportunity
Runda
slipped
själva.
away there.
And that's been kind of the theme
Eller
today for
klippa,
Team
men
McEwen.
Jag gillar att gå på.
Yeah, they're close but not perfect on so many
Jag har
shots.
dragit där det också.
That rock definitely had to be short, if anything.
So Lane, why would they be going above that one instead of splitting the house and going to the other side?
To prevent Team McEwen from playing that same shot again.
different speed if you get on this side of the slide path.
Team Sweden here in no risk whatsoever. They're playing to the corners. They have no risk of giving up a steal. At worst, they're going to be forced to be 2 up coming home.
That was an interesting comment Mike McEwen just made about the fact that if you're on one side of the versus the slide path, whether the speed of the rock's coming down. And that's what's in effect right here. With Team Edin just coming around that guard. Managed perfectly and almost leaving no backing at all. McEwen's got to be trying to find some way to get out of this end.
Yeah, that was an example of a really well thrown shot around that guard. They got to manage it perfectly, sweep it at the last moment behind the guard there, pretty much place it where they wanted to.
Yeah. I think it's going to float, and then
so it looks like Mike's calling a hit on that one and trying to get to the inside. He can't throw too much weight out there. He's got to absolutely must have the shooter stick around.
That positive?
But this is the first time we've really gone out to the wings.
First time this game we've played any kind of a shot like this. Obviously, Mike's played 6 games before this, so he has an idea. We could hear him describing how he felt he needed to throw it, that it was going to track for a while and then it was going to curl at the end. So he has a really good idea. He's pretty confident in what he expects to see down here.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's going to be like a first stone in practice, or even a touch heavier after it's sitting, right?
So you can hear the kind of detail that these curlers discuss when they're preparing to throw this shot. They've counted the number of rocks.
No, this draw. Like this, but draw weight. Yeah, let's do that. I mean, it's the same difficulty shot, so.
He's right to the edge of the boards on this one.
So he just moved from a tap to a draw.
Yeah,
so that's not a lot of ice there. He's got to be anticipating maybe throwing a little extra rotation to make that rock track a little bit more.
And maybe a tap weight. He's got to definitely for sure be there, but
it should. I think it'll hold a bit and hammer in, hog line in. It'll be diving.
a lot of discussion about how to make this shot, how to throw it, how to sweep it.
Line's not bad.
Sweepers are on it.
Weight's everything here. Line is pretty good.
Denny Neufeld actually put 1 foot on the other sheet to try and sweep that down the boards.
Really good.
Line is terrific. Coming down there. He's got shot rock out of it, and he's fully buried. What a terrific shot. That is absolutely amazing. I don't think I've ever actually seen that where the sweeper has on the other side of on the other sheet beside him, stepping over top of the foam barrier.
Nästan försöka sticka den på den, precis på den sidan.
So Oscar Eriksson throwing first skip rock for his team, Edin. Looks like he's going to try a run back. Run back that guard into his own blue and then into the red one.
Not last then.
Lite utsida här, nästan sticka på våran egen och bara snärta bort den. Försöka få bort det. Lite risk att den hänger kvar i bakkant, men
Whoa. Whoa. Whoa.
He got rid of the guard, which was his first job to do, and then, but he didn't make the run back into his other blue. So decision time for Team McEwen.
Looks like It looks like he's planning on splitting the house to force the point.
See something else that I don't?
And he will be planning to...
We'll be going through the slide path here a bit.
Again, they're talking about that slide path. I think they're obviously concerned about maybe the ice conditions down the middle of the ice.
Well, I think they're just being wise and full understanding of where this rock's going to go, what paths. What path the draw is going to go through, if it's going to stay in the shiny stuff or if it's going to move over across a spot that has had more slides down it.
Elaine, that was a bit of a round of applause over there on sheet B, where Kevin Cooey at one point was trailing 5-2, just stole 2 points. Benoit Schwartz, the fourth thrower of Team Peter de Cruz, throwing a run back. He was trying a triple. He didn't make the triple. He only took one out and ends up giving up a steal at 2. So after 6 ends, it's now Team Cooey is up 7-5 over de Cruz, and de Cruz has the hammer with 2 ends to play.
Huge comeback in 2 ends. 3 in the 5th, 2 in the 6th. Huge number of points scored by Team Cooey against Team Cruz in that game over there, completely changing the outlook of that game from being in a very unfavorable position of being tied without.
I think after 3 ends, you told me that they had a 6% chance of winning this game, and I would suggest that maybe their chances are a little bit better than the 6% now.
They just turned those numbers around.
Is it like a 14?
So it looks like, yeah, Mike McEwen is going to throw the draw over to the other side. The key, I think, to this shot, Elaine, isn't it that he has to be either shot or second shot with this one? He's got to be lying 1-2.
With no chance of a double.
I just don't want to take too tight ice and then be going right through the middle of it. I think
it's got to be perfectly even, or in a spot where the roll will not be able to get by, negotiate past those blue rocks. If he sets up a double, then that obviously would be...
It makes the zone pretty small because he can't set up a double, but he also has to be lying 2 when he's done.
I think that's why they took such a long time to make this final decision of how they were going to make this shot perfectly.
Sweepers are not touching this one. It's starting to curl. Oh, and there we go. A little bit of a clean just to make sure. And he's just looking for T-line to lie 2.
Nice shot. So it's behind the T-line, so you can't roll backwards. So the double is not there.
Not taking any chances. He's playing the hit. Doesn't want to play the draw, which is kind of traditional for skips to just draw down to the 4-foot when you've got it. But
this is a pretty easy shot to get your point.
This is the last rock in the semi-final. The 7th end of an 8-end game. With Nicholas Edin's team up by 1, 3-2 with the hammer, and this is the hammer. Looking for just a hit and stick to take a 2-point lead and go into the last end with a 2-point lead. And he makes it. So that makes it after 7. Nicholas Edin skipped by Oscar Eriksson, leading 4-2. But Mike McEwen's team has the hammer.
And need 2 to tie.
And need 2 to tie. Elaine, do we have percentages on that?
I'll give you another one. Team McEwen has played a lot of games this season. I asked them before the game how many games they would generally play in the season, and they said about 100, which is a lot. And at this point, they're at 21 wins and 9 losses, which is a pretty good standing at this point. I asked Edin the same question, and they said they probably play about 140 games a year, and that would be indicative in the number of games they've played so far, where they are at 31 wins and 14 losses so far this season. So both of these teams have been out on the tour since late August or early September, week after week, this is what they do. They're used to these situations. It's been a great game. It's still, the score is very close. We've got the 4 top teams of the event out here. It's been a great semi-final in both games.
Very big thanks to Shaw TV Okanagan and all their crew for doing a fabulous job with us. Don't forget, fans, we will be back here for the final. These are the semifinals going on. Just a update over on sheet B. The score remains Kevin Cooey team 7 to Peter DeCruz's team 5, and DeCruz has the hammer going into the 7th end.
Line's good. Trying halfway.
Okay, so we have just been informed that the final is going to be pushed back a little bit. It was originally scheduled for 11:45. It's now scheduled for 12:15. The original time was just 35 minutes from now, which is not giving the teams very much of an opportunity to have a little break for something to eat. So come back in after we finish this broadcast. Please come back in and tune in again for the final, championship final of this event at 12:15.
Both these games just 2-point leads, one with 2 ends to play, one with 1 end to play, and either one could go to an extra end quite easily. They've been very competitive games, and that's indicative of the fact that 3 of the teams on the ice right now are 6-0 coming into this, and 1 is 5-1. So amazing level of play. Elaine, we haven't even talked about the fact that what we really saw in this event over the whole weekend was an opportunity for some BC teams, some local teams that you wouldn't normally see out in the Cash Field circuit to play against some of the top teams in the world.
That is such a positive part about this event. It's a tough way to break through to this top level of play. It's very unusual for a team that is not in those top 20 teams to have an opportunity to play against these teams, and this very unique situation was created for our British Columbia teams to be able to get into a spiel where they got to play Kevin Cooey and Nick Adine and Thomas Olsrud and Peter DeCruz and these great teams, and they enjoyed it so much. They all felt it was a wonderful opportunity. Not a single team in this event went without a win. Every team won a game, including some of the the BC teams who are not out on the tour as much as these top teams.
No, am I right? Did they hold 6 spots or hold a certain number of spots just for BC teams?
I believe that is the case. I don't know the number, but definitely some teams that were not ranked anywhere near the ranking of the top teams were able to get into this spiel. It's such a great opportunity. Even if they get a few points out of this situation, it helps them in their provincial qualifications. It helps them raise their game coming out of BC, whatever team comes out of BC. You know, they've been able to play against some of these teams and play this kind of style of game on conditions which are really very similar to arena conditions here at the Penticton Curling Club. Ice maker here in Penticton, Chris Jones, has been an ice maker in different championship events and is very experienced and very knowledgeable. So all around, it's been a really terrific experience for the BC teams.
Elaine, we're getting a second corner guard called up here. You've got Erickson called for both of his on the 4-foot, and we've got 2 corner guards. What's the thinking there with Erickson into the 4-foot when he's got a 2-point lead?
Well, Erickson is definitely going to put both of his rocks in the house. If he's 2 up, he's probably going to, as he did, place his 2 rocks in the house. If he was 3 up, he would have thrown one of them through. Mike has no choice. When you're 2 down, you throw 2 corner guards. They'll continue to peel one. Generally, they'll peel the one that is the least favorable guard to go around. But in this instance, one's a little higher, so there is a slight chance of a double peel. And Mike will keep putting that guard up until they feel that they're running out of time.
I think you're looking for like top 8 height. You'd be right here.
Or maybe he's not going to put up another corner guard.
Nope, he's coming around. It's He thinks that 3 rocks in
Lots
play,
of
and I mean
line.
those rocks. One of them is behind the tee
Tons of
line.
line.
Yeah.
You know, already.
This is back, eh? Okay. Okay. We're looking for here. Hard, Danny. Hard.
So
Hard.
the question
Very good. Get
becomes,
back.
with it out in the
All the way
wings
back.
there and
Keep
back,
going,
does
Danny. Keep going, keep going.
Oscar
keep going.
ask Nicodine to clear that corner guard as he go after the rock in the rings?
Either one is just fine.
Vickar vi bara in
He's in
lite
good
grann
shape.
så blir det kanske en hjälpsten.
Sometimes you like to let the opposition know that they made a little bit of a mistake. They could have made that shot better. You don't like to see them walking that rock down all the way there and not having it a chance to sweep it a little bit more behind the guard.
Ta det så pass tjockt
There was,
så
there was
du kan ju nudda
virtually
den, men du
no
kommer
shot
aldrig liksom
management,
kunna gå
just
in i
hoping that
sidan
it
i
was
alla
going to
fall.
stop and curl.
Då är det bara att du rullar dit i så fall.
Looks
Den
like
här
a
är någon cent i lägre.
concerned with hitting his own rock, but it. I think if he hits this fairly full, he'll just roll in behind it. But I don't think he needs any more rocks in play.
No, I think he just needs to make this rock
Yep.
go away.
Yep.
That guard remains very
Yep, yep,
high.
yep,
It's
yep,
not
yep,
too
yep,
much of a threat.
Bra.
Well, it would have been better if that rock rolled out, but it's of less threat when it's right behind the other one. All 3 are virtually in a line.
You could get all 3 and just make it this way.
I don't know if you need to get all 3.
It's just
Yeah,
not
shade-
that I-
is that what he
shade
wants? You know, those ones behind the tee line are kind of handy.
Have
A
to
little
do
bit later
something.
because he's only got the one
I
guard
think you're
left to
best
play.
to make the triple. Wow. Them, we're not, the corner guard's not happening. You can make the triple right now. If he beats it, then you go here on your next one.
It's so amazing having these mics on. We can hear what they're thinking.
Not that hard. This will pop. If you make this double, you'll probably make the triple. Even if it just gets to here.
So the reason that they want to make
I don't like our chances of making a deuce in the middle.
all of the shots, all of those blue rocks go away is so that if they come around that corner guard and get buried, they only want to be biting the 12-foot. And so they want to bring that shot into play, and so that back one has to also leave the house.
Really good.
Yeah,
give them-
that corner guard's a fair way over there. So to get behind it, you really actually have to be back in the full 12. And you're right. He's got three rocks that are going to be shot rock before his, so he might as well make them go away. And
I think you can get it to here.
BJ looks like he's a little concerned about the triple.
Yeah, he's not really jumping all over it, but that could just be his
I mean,
way
this
of
is very precise.
getting
I think-
clarity.
I think sometimes you have to see that shot before you
But,
throw it.
They're going to bring in some additional advice here, maybe.
It's not the first time we've
Either
seen
way,
second
it's gonna
Matt
be very
Wozniak
precise.
called
What do
down.
you think, Matty?
Yeah.
This is a critical point in this end. So they want to make sure that the team is really behind this shot and they all understand
The other option is just,
the potential
play the
benefits.
double and just roll here. Which I don't mind. You want to do that? Okay, let's do that.
Okay, they've decided to go for the double and roll behind the guard.
Is it the double or the triple?
The double.
Just normal.
So that, if this is made successfully, the double and roll behind the corner will leave an additional rock behind the tee line that they could potentially freeze to or hit if they've got the rock behind the guard.
Clean. Yep. Whoa. Yeah. Whoa. Whoa. Yeah. Whoa. Hold on.
He misses the double, but he does roll behind the corner. It's fully buried.
Almost a perfect shot.
Almost a perfect shot. Just about,
Världschansningen,
you know,
eller?
they were on and off on that rock until right at the end, and then he just didn't quite catch it. Had to come up just a pinch more. So it was, the question was, do you roll and get behind the corner guard, or do you make the double? And made a beautiful roll.
Fjärdedel så borde den klara sig över. Tredjedel så är det nog linjen mot bord. Eller bara klippa upp. Vad sa du? Ja.
Over in the other semifinal on sheet B,
Tror det kommer gå ganska rakt, va?
Benoit Schwartz, last thrower for Team Peter de Cruz, draws in for a single point against two red Cooey stones. So the going into the final end, it'll be Cooey leading 7-6 with the hammer over Peter de Cruz's ring. Oh, this is a tough spot. Way out in the wings, going after that rock.
A little bit like the one Mike threw in the last end. Only his was a draw.
Just by the guard, and a terrific shot. I didn't think that was even there. Obviously it was. He rolled a shade too far just to leave a little piece open, and Nicholas Edin makes a terrific shot. You can see the sweeper right over top of that, trying to get it by, and once he's by, he gets off of it so that it comes up and makes that shot. So they're going to try and utilize that corner guard again. Tuck one around it.
Get some room. 90. Only 48.
Sweepers are on it pretty quickly, Elaine.
Yep, line's good. Room! Lots of room!
It's nice to see them managing this rock.
Gotta curl, boys.
Little curl.
And when you can't hit it, yeah, you just gotta hit it. Go. Keep going.
That didn't come up as hard as it has earlier in the game.
It was almost like it was kind of fighting that curl.
I think he
left
a little piece open, but with Oscar being left-handed, comes into play here because he can't quite see as much of that rock as Nicholas Edin, who's right-handed.
Jag kan få lite curl i den, men han lär ju aldrig runda igen. Eller tror han gör det? Om jag skulle rusa. Man spelar en fart. Så där kanske.
So Team Edin, Oscar's coming up with his first shot here. They are trying to make the red rocks go away.
Går vi i garden, då är den öppen. Ska han slå där så har vi troligtvis en in-off.
So this is first skip stones. Normal skip Nicholas Edin playing third today and letting Oscar Eriksson call the game and throw last rocks. We're in the 8th end with Edin's rink up 4-2 without the hammer. And Team Mike McEwen out of Winnipeg trying to claw their way back in.
Ja, det går. Men problemet är att även om jag bara fridrar där.
Looks like the ice for just a bump.
Då kan vi nästan inte gå för frysen. Jag tror den här, alltså kommer Karl här. Det är bra.
I think this might be one of those situations he wants to make sure that keeps that shooter around and gets rid of that other stone.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, good point.
Make it as difficult as possible for McEwen to get those 2 points.
Oh. Matt. Whoa.
Calling him off on line. He's by that guard by quite a while. Nothing. He rubs it over just a little bit.
Well, that was just what Team McEwen was hoping for.
You can see nothing on that for the sweepers at all. And then trying to get that to curl just a little bit. The outside sweeper trying to push that rock in. He just rubs it but does not remove it from play. And unfortunately, there's a double there in the middle for Nicholas Edin's team. Mike McEwen, it's fortunate. And for Nicholas Edin's, it's unfortunate for him to make this double and see if he can't be lying too.
when he makes, if he makes this double, there will be no double left in response here. That red rock is slightly above the tee line, and Mike Shooter will remain on the tee line, or if he gets a little bit of a roll, it'll be a little bit behind it. So there will be no double available to Oscar.
Crucial is making this double first and holding onto that shooter. Doesn't do you much good if you don't hold onto that shooter.
Right off. Clean.
He has not thrown big weight.